Guess we are out there in the world to see. Good to see you, John.
Yeah, as if we haven't been talking for the last hour.
Yeah,
Uh,
and not telling anybody, not letting anyone know the inside secrets that
we
we
were
are.
yapping long enough for my screen to go black.
And as you can see, for those of you who have joined us before, we're missing our pilot. We're missing Mr. Mike. He wasn't able to join us tonight for reasons, and so it's just been me and John and me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so far to say business as usual because,
Yeah, business is unusual or as
right.
unusual.
So, I mean, at this point, we got to make do with what we got.
Yes, doing the best we can with the resources we have at our disposal and the expertise or lack thereof.
Yeah, well, thank God Mike messaged, asked how it went,
Yeah.
or else there would have been nothing.
So
So,
let's see how long we can go within the or how far we can go given that we're in support of the current strike that's going on. So we're not going to talk about new stuff related to Star Wars or any of the things that will be coming out soon.
can't really talk about the old stuff either.
True.
It's technically frowned upon. I think within reason. So I know we talked a little bit about Jedi Survivor, talked a little bit about Jedi Fallen Order. All of this is off air, so
Yeah.
but
Well, I think
uh,
one of the things that we both agree on related to those games is that they're both fantastic Star Wars games.
right, yeah. I am definitely a shill for Battlefront 2 2017. However, I would say that the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor is definitely a welcome return to great Star Wars games. So I don't think there are a lot of people that can say that they dislike either of those. I'm sure there is a minority of people that dislike it, but I would say overall they are the two best Star Wars games we've gotten in a very long time.
Yeah, and I think one of the fun things about both of those Jedi games, not only do we get great games, I think we got great characters. I mean, you even have is it Patrick Monahan? Who's the gentleman who plays Cal Kestis?
Cameron Monaghan.
Cameron Monahan. Yeah, and I apologize, fake fan over here. Um, that we've got the person who wore the motion capture suit, who who came out and shows up at these conventions and gets into the fun aspects of being involved in Star Wars. And I'm glad to hear that that E-girl has beat both of those games. I wonder if she
Also,
played it on story mode like we did.
look, I first I want to say happy birthday, E-girl. Glad it's your birthday. Glad you get to witness Ken and I on your birthday. Unfortunately, like we said, Mike's not here. However, back to the story. I made a I made my case. I want to enjoy the game. I want to enjoy the story. I am not a fan of overtly challenging games. I know a bunch of my former friends thoroughly enjoyed the Dark Souls games. I can't stand them. They are way too difficult. I just want to sit back. It's a hobby. It is something to kill time with. I don't want to devote so much of my energy that I end up hating the game because it was too hard. I play everything on story mode. So if I want challenge, I'll go play a multiplayer game. I'll put my skills up against someone else's.
But just not up
So
against the game itself.
nope. If you code it to be difficult, then I'm out. But if another human being is better than me, that's fine. So that's my take. I'm definitely outnumbered in that. I know a lot of people like challenging games. Not me. I like it to be fun, not hard. So, but yeah, I think not only did we get great characters, something we can all relate on is we got great costumes,
Oh,
especially in Jedi Survivor, where you've got a way more customization in the game than you did in Jedi Fallen Order. So
well, one of the two of us made a point of going costume shopping, it seemed, while they were playing the game. Weren't you saying that you'd spend a bunch of time looking for those little packages just so you can
oh,
update your wear?
I love changing costumes. I mean, you know me.
I do.
I'm always on the hunt for a new costume, whether that be in game or in person. So I thoroughly that was I love finding the little crates because it was you got an extra poncho or something, you got a new shirt in Jedi Fallen Order, but it was mostly like the lightsaber parts. So I was very happy to see they had whole facial hair, shirt, jacket, pants,
Oh,
boots,
they they
everything.
they had the combo kit. Like you had to go find all the different bits too.
Yeah, see, I found ones that I liked, and then I went and got those. I didn't. I'm not a completionist for most things, but I found a setup that I liked, and I definitely stuck to it.
For me, what I find most fascinating about games that have that aspect of it where you can wear different clothes or whatever. I don't understand the clothes that serve no purpose other than looking different. Like like I used to play a lot of the role playing games, whether you're talking Baldur's Gate or even more recently things like Borderlands and stuff, where you have literally millions of combinations of costumes and weaponry or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but I was always a fan of, like, I got to get this shirt because it has a higher defense, or I got to get this sword because the attack points are higher. So I'll do that till the end of time. But I'm not necessarily gonna, like, I need a short sleeve shirt to go with these slacks to go with my mullet. Like, I just
See, I liked. I'm not sure if you played the Spider-Man PS4 Miles Morales games.
I played part of it. I didn't finish that one.
See, I liked their approach to it. Where yes, the different suits are cosmetic. However, you get upgrades
Yep.
that came with them, and you could use them with different costumes. So I liked that approach. So
Yeah.
it's like you can look different, but still get the benefit from the costume.
Yeah, and it has an in-game purpose other than just visual. And the other part that I find amusing about some games is the where if you pre-order it, you get the different costume. Like once again, the costume doesn't protect you. It doesn't make the game different other than the your appearance. So if you pay, this much more, you get this uniform.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, I'm one of those suckers who are like, okay,
Yeah, see, I don't. I in my time after working for GameStop, I kind of stopped pre-ordering things, which anyone who has worked or currently works for GameStop knows that that is a big no-no. So, because GameStop's all about those pre-orders and reservations. But I've shied away from it. I kind of want to wait to see what the general consensus on some of these things are. Now
got
there are games like I'll get the Call of Duty or I'll get Madden, the yearly stuff that doesn't really change. But like a lot of these story based games, I'll wait. I'll wait a week or two before I pick it up.
well, look what happened with that Cyberpunk game.
Don't even talk to me about Cyberpunk.
Well,
I was one of those suckers that prepaid for the game. I pre-ordered it. I was so excited, and then I played it.
I have the complete official collector's edition book for Cyberpunk. I mean, I'm of that like I was saying with those role playing games where I would buy the books that have the maps of the dungeon and here's where the treasure chest is, and like, yeah, here I am 40 plus years old and I still do it. But I went and did the whole Cyberpunk game. I didn't, and I still haven't beat the game because of all the hiccups that happened early on that made me not want to play it.
See, but you played it on PlayStation, so you got the best experience out of all of us. I played it on PC, and PC day one was virtually unplayable.
Oh,
I
yeesh.
mean, you would either clip through walls, you would be able like textures wouldn't load, you wouldn't be able to access certain parts of the game. I mean, it was a nightmare trying to play Cyberpunk day one.
Oh man.
So, not to mention, at the time, I had my setup was, I don't want to say like the best you could possibly get because it wasn't, but it was upper echelon for the time,
Hmm.
and I couldn't play it. I had to dumb it down to medium graphics. I could not play on ultra graphics like I always do. It I uh,
Did it ever
Cyber.
get fixed so you could play it at that high level?
I'm sure it did. I was so upset at the time that I stopped. I in at that point, like the story itself got pretty middling reviews, so I was like, well, okay, not worth my time then. So I'm sure it plays fine now and the story is fine. It's one of those things where it's like it made a bad first impression and I just haven't, and there are other things that I can devote my time to now. Now if they release a sequel, which I'm sure they will because it made a boatload of money. If they get a sequel, I'll play it.
I'm hoping that the Star Wars Outlaws is good from the get go. And I mean, I would much rather, as silly as this sounds, I would much rather have a game get delayed, and when it does come out, it works properly with as minimal bugs and hiccups as possible. I'd rather delay a game for those reasons than get a game and have to, get 14 updates in the first 2 weeks, because they, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, I am cautiously optimistic, but still skeptical about it, simply for the fact that of Ubisoft is the leading developer on that one, and I Ubisoft and I have some bad blood between a bunch of their Assassin's Creed games. However, being that it is Star Wars, they have definitely they had my curiosity, but now they have my attention.
Do you think we'll be able to convince Mike to get Outlaws on one of his game systems now that he's found us tonight?
I certainly hope so. I mean, it's definitely an interesting concept. It's yeah, I think Outlaws is going. It's there are a few things in life that I will refer to as bang or bust. I don't think there is a scenario where people are going to say it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. I think it's either going to be the best thing we've ever gotten in Star Wars, or it's going to be the worst game we've gotten for Star Wars. I think it's definitely making some lofty aspirations, but it only time will tell how it actually plays out.
Yeah, it's
So
quite incredible to be where we are and to be able to see these sort of things. I mean, if you look back at some of the early Star Wars games, whether you're talking, did you ever play any of the old, 8-bit Atari kind of Star Wars games?
not the Atari games. I've played some of the NES, the SNES games,
Okay.
but my Star Wars video games are very surface level. I played the Battlefront games as a kid. Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga is my favorite game of all time.
And that's the
Uh,
more recent one, right?
no, that's the original one from 2000. Well, not the original. The Complete Saga was the original trilogy, or excuse me, Lego Star Wars and Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, mashed together into one game. It came out in
Okay.
2009,
Okay.
I think. But yeah, so that's my all-time favorite game. But I haven't. I know I'll get crucified for saying this publicly, but I've never played Shadows in the Empire. I've never played Dark Empire. I've played Rogue Squadron, um, and then obviously I've played Star Wars Racers. But I usually a lot of the first person shooters I would say I've touched, but not a lot of the first person RPGs.
How about the Star Wars fighting game that they had?
The Episode 3 fighting game.
The one with like Terrace Kasi or whatever it was called. It was kind of like Mortal Kombat.
I don't think so. I know I played because the Revenge of the Sith game had a fighting mode where
Okay.
it was basically just characters from Revenge of the Sith in a Mortal Kombat style. Um, that's another one though that I feel like does not get as much praise as it should. Was the tie-in game for Revenge of the Sith? I own both the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox copies. I mean, of course, I have the world's largest collection of Revenge of the Sith. I should.
Yeah.
So
Because if
that's
not,
that.
you're gonna have to turn your card in.
Yeah. So that is a self-proclaimed record. I would love for that to be verified. And if it's not, I want to make it the largest.
Well, you should probably put that somewhere on your next costumed character card. You know,
That's a good point. You know, if I ever
yeah,
get pre-armor
asterisk.
Vader done, I'll throw that on the bottom of my custom card, the world's largest Revenge of the Sith collection.
Yeah, asterisks.
So, self-proclaimed,
Yeah,
of course. But yeah.
but
So
we're at a place now where these video games, look almost movie quality.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's Cameron Monaghan in Jedi Survivor. I mean, it's 100% him. And we're still kind of in that uncanny valley, but we're slowly but surely creeping out of it into like just straight realism.
So the pieces that I don't understand how they work. So they do motion capture, right?
Mhm.
How do they then manage to have that like how do you capture motion of, let's say, him jogging, so in the behind the scenes stuff, where is he jogging from and to, and how are you recording that in such a way that when it's in the video game, it's it just seems like that's how it would work, and like it is witchcraft and alchemy that I don't understand.
So in my very very bare bones knowledge of that is I'm sure what they do because I know how they render the models and everything. So I'm sure they do it point A to point B, and it's just on a loop. So you take the motion capture of him running from point A to point B, and you find a point from point A between point A and point B where like say his arm comes up to the same place as it was at the beginning, and then you just loop it together, and then you have the end animations of where like he'll either like put his foot in the dirt or he'll just like stop in just the standing animation.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident that's how that's performed. Again, very bare bones knowledge though.
Like, I would love to go to one of those recording sessions. Just I want to see this happen
Mm-hmm.
because they use the same technology, from what I understand, to put the whether it's Darth Maul on screen for the animated stuff, or they use the same thing to put Jar Jar on the screen for the Phantom Menace. Granted, we're now, the technology has advanced some, where the equipment probably isn't as big and bulky and as cumbersome as it once was, but
Mm-hmm.
still to see them. Okay, we want you to do these moves. We want you to punch 2 times to the right and a hook with the left or whatever. And we're gonna do this other move, and you're gonna do this other move.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
definitely it's fascinating for sure. I agree with you 100%. I would love to be able to just sit in on one of those sessions. So, granted, we don't know as many people as Mike does, though.
yeah, we got to figure out a way of you know getting us a ticket into that show.
Right. So, but we touched a little bit on costumes. Do you have anything that you're working on currently?
I This past week I did a little bit of work on my Pinto Din. I'm very happy to say I did some stuff finally with that. Working on, or did some work also on on Heather's Bo-Katan, which is it's it's going to take a little bit of finagling because we're at a place where we have the armor parts, we have the helmet, we have the jetpack, but in order to construct the jetpack properly, or finish the jetpack, we need to have our soft parts done because it's going to have a special harness that attaches to the vest a very specific way. So I don't want to modify the jetpack until we have the soft parts done that have that harness piece yet. So that has put a little bit of a monkey wrench in our work on her costume. So I'm doing the small things that I can do, whether it's working on her blasters or working on the Pinto Din stuff.
Hmm.
And I just recently found out that one of our friends in here in Pennsylvania, who also cosplays as Din Djarin, our friend Don, he actually was involved in putting together the CRL for Din. I'm like, holy cow, how cool is this? This is and he's a super nice guy. I've trooped with him a couple times. He's just fantastic. And I sent him, one question, I think, and it led to like a 35-minute exchange back and forth. So I got more stuff about Din than I would have ever hoped for. So I want to make sure I thank him for helping me out with that and got me real excited to know that I can I have a real live person that I can go to and not necessarily have to rely on the forums or whatever to get some guidance on how to put all these bits together. How about you? What have you been working on?
Right now we are in the research and development. So currently trying to convince my dad to piece everything together for Tarkin. Now that he has the bare bones for the line officer. Um, that's just a matter of either making or buying a rank badge, finding him a properly fitted undershirt, because for some reason, not for some reason, but in the CRLs, it is mandatory that you have a collared, button-down white shirt underneath your officer's tunic, because for some reason, in A New Hope, Tarkin is wearing, you can see a white collar and white cuffs underneath his officer's uniform. So, trying to find something that will fit him properly, as well as get that minimum. I mean, it's you're talking maybe an eighth of an inch of the collar and just a peak of the cuffs underneath. That's literally all it is. So that's where my primary focus is Tarkin, and then also trying to decide on several different costumes. Like, okay, do I want to put all my efforts into this, or this? So pre-armor Vader or Revenge of the Sith Anakin is kind of where I'm leaning first, because I had a lot of people tell me that's definitely something I should look into, because apparently I've got the face shape and the hair and the body type to pull it off properly. And then also looking into a 501st clone. And then at the very end of it, I see a lot of these Vaders going up on the forums, and I'm like, oh, if I had the money, I would do it.
Well, I'm surprised you don't want to put together a Bode costume.
It's on my list. However, I'm kind of waiting for Bode to get a little more recognition, because at the end of the day, we're all doing this for charity. We all do this as a volunteer, but it's also nice when you get recognized. So, and I think enough times I've been called Darth Vader in Kylo, where it's like, it would be nice just to have something that's recognizable. So,
Yeah, you're talking to a guy who's a custom kit, so
yeah, I'm sure you get the Mandalorian a lot.
yeah, and I'm cool with that. I have been called Stormtrooper before. The shiny guy I've been called a couple times by elderly people and
Mm-hmm.
kids at the same time. Not necessarily at the same time, literally, but in the same event, people. Oh, yeah, go get a picture of that shiny guy.
Mm-hmm.
But and I've committed to Heather that I will not start any other costume until I get a couple of these other ones complete. I still have that Tuscan that we started last summer at Mike's house. So I got the Tuscan. I've got a Post Imperial that I'm working on, a custom Post Imperial, Pinto Din, Death Watch. I have some of the bits for um, Director Krennic, and I have the Narkina 5 prisoner costume plus Heather's bow costume. So Heather says, under no circumstance am I to get a new costume. I have to get parts for the current ones, but I should not start another one until some of those other ones are finished.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, I don't have anything personally right now that I'm just sitting on. It's a matter of like, okay, do I need this, or can I make this work? Like for instance, like I've got my Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, so I've got everything I need, except for I don't have the pants yet, because the pants are stupid specific. So I custom ordered a tailored pair of the waxy denim jeans with the darts already put in the knees. So the lady I ordered those from said that she should ship them this week. Fingers crossed. And then the thing that I'm most concerned about is my boots. So the boots I currently have are Chelsea boots with lifts in them, and then they have just spats going over the top. However, if you look at the CRLs for the Force Awakens Kylo, there's no. It's basically okay. Do they look like this? Okay, that's approvable. However, for anything past that, the one thing that I'm getting hung up on is the soles have to be flat. So they have to have a flat sole underneath. And the Chelsea boots have a heel to them that are, it depends on the picture. The wedge in the heel from where the heel goes and then it dips down into the flat sole, the flat part of the sole. That's covered 90% of the time. So I'm wondering if I'm going to get kicked back because they don't have a thick enough sole or they're not technically flat. So that's my concern. I'd really rather not drop $200 and $300 on a pair of boots.
Yeah, I can 1,000,000% understand that.
So, but other than Supreme Leader Kylo, I don't have anything currently in the house that is in progress.
Weren't you working on a Ben? I thought you were working on a Ben Solo, the sweater Ben.
That's technically in progress. Technically also not in the house. That's at my seamstress right now.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, I see where you're going there.
So, and that comes down to the same thing. It's like, okay, are the boots going to be passable? And I'm waiting on the pants.
Gotcha. Okay.
So technically, I don't have any of that, other than the boots that are done. Because that's the other problem. We talked about it earlier. No, I don't have a lightsaber for it. So, and I think in Rebel Legion you have to have. I think the lightsaber is mandatory.
Even though we didn't carry it all the time.
I see. That's the problem with Rebel Legion, and I was having this conversation earlier this week with a couple other 501st members. Is the Rebel Legion CRLs are either so far outdated and they're so behind. Like the most recent CRL that they have published is Force Awakens Leia. So there's, at least from, because there aren't that many Rebel Legion costumes that I'm like, I gotta do it. It's on my mind. I have to do it. I actually prefer the 501st and the Imperial side of it. So I don't constantly hawk their forums, but there's no, like, you can't just go to the Rebel Legion's website and look up the Ben Solo CRL. It just doesn't exist. So it's kind of up to the GMLs or whatever the Rebel Legion equivalent is. It's kind of up to their discretion.
Gotcha.
There are other Ben Solos. There are other Ben Solos in Apollo base. So there is a precedent, but there's no physical CRL that you can look at and be like, okay, you need this, and this. So I'm at a stalemate with that one, especially after the conversation I had about how long it takes for them to get approvals back. So because there was someone in Apollo base that was doing just a generic pilot that it took her 6 months to get a response on her approval.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's not as streamlined as the 501st or even the Mercs. So
Yeah, and they've in the last few years, the Mercs has worked hard to improve their application process. Still has hiccups. I mean, it's people. It's a group run by people, so there's going to be some subtle nuances to it that could be better, could be improved. But
right,
I didn't realize the Rebel Legion was as delayed as that.
yeah, and I mean at in that same sentence, like I mean it could have just been an outlier. However, that's not the first time I've heard about an extended approval process.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, so right now myself don't have anything that I am working on, but my dad has seriously taken a bite of the forbidden fruit and is super into it now.
Yeah, you seem to have become the costume whisperer. You seem to be able to help your dad put together a bunch of costumes. I mean, I've been working on. I worked on my Mando for ages, and in that in a much shorter period of time. I think your dad is up now to what, 16 costumes.
It seems like it, doesn't it? So because he's got he technically so far I've only let him get 2 approved because I told him like you're not having more approved costumes than me. Like that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna come to me and be like, hey, build me this costume, and then you're gonna have more than me. So
Okay.
technically, right now he only has 2. He's
Yeah.
got the AT-AT commander and he's got Krennic.
Okay.
So, however, he has enough currently to make 4 costumes, be that an ISB officer and a generic line officer. So, and then, once we get the rank bar and 3 more code cylinders, then he'll have Tarkin. So,
Do you think your dad would be up to doing Tarkin and slippers?
I'm sure I could get him to do it. Just get
'Cause-
him a pair of pink fuzzy bunny slippers.
No, because in a lot of the behind the scenes pictures of Tarkin, he had those because the boots were too tight for him.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they didn't show up in the movie, we have behind the scenes pictures of him in those slippers. So
I don't even know what kind. Oh, they were just loafers.
yeah,
Either way, I would still get him to wear the pink slippers.
yeah.
It's more comical.
Well, I've always joked, not always, but I've often joked that if I was going to do a Count Dooku, I'd want to do the Dooku in pajamas from from the Clone Wars and Battlefront.
We were at dinner last night, and I showed him that because it was a family get together. Nobody was talking to me, so I was just sitting there on my phone scrolling through CRLs. And I tapped him on the shoulder. I'm like, hey, you want to do Count Dooku? You can. I feel like this would be pretty comfortable. And he's like, that's an approved costume. I'm like, yeah, it was in the Clone Wars. It's canon. You can do it. So I was just having fun showing him all the ridiculous Legion costumes. Like the Wampa is approvable. So I think it's funny how far the CRLs go. So and yet like a costume that's been around since 1980, Bosk, still doesn't have an official CRL yet.
And there have been a number. I don't know if they're in the 501st or not, but I've we've seen pictures of, and Mike has witnessed some really great boss costumes. So they exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're definitely out there, and they're out there in numbers. But for some reason or another, it's just they have not locked down the CRL.
Which is
So,
funny because I wonder if so he wore the same flight suit as Bo Sheck did in the Cantina, and I
mm-hmm.
wonder if the Rebel Legion has a Bo Sheck CRL.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it. Let me see. Yeah, Bosk is not finished. So basically, when I say that, if you look at the CRLs on the 501st database, there's either a green square or there's a gray square next to it. Green means it's ready to go. Your local GML, your garrison membership liaison, can approve the costume. If it's gray, the CRLs require Legion approval. So you have to get the LMO involved, you have to get the detachment leaders involved to get the costume approved. Yeah, the only ones right now that are present on the database are Bosk, Bounty Hunter Asajj Ventress, the Phase 2 clone pilots. Oh, and I just closed out of it. I think it's interesting because like a lot of these, like we've seen plenty of reference photos. Like I would understand if it was something like there's still no CRL for the Daimyo Boba Fett. Those are still in progress.
Yeah, and that makes sense because A, they're fresher, and B, I mean, maybe not everyone's running out there to cosplay as him.
Right. So then we have the Dark Force Witch Night Sister. Not even sure what exactly that one looks like. Because the other problem is they won't post pictures until it's ready to go for GML approval.
Oh wow!
So a lot of these, it's just a silhouette of a stormtrooper and just says image not found. Then getting all the way down to the Sith Lord designation, you have Darth Nihilus from KOTOR 2, Starkiller's Sith Stalker, which again, I'm not sure what that one looks like. You have the Scuba Clone Trooper, Karner Jax and Kier Kanos from the Royal Guards, which I think those are comics.
Yeah,
that one makes sense.
Yeah, that one's in my storage unit. That one, I thought that those costumes were fantastic.
Yeah, and then the last one is the Shadow Stormtrooper from the Force Unleashed. So those are all the costumes that you can do. They have worked on the CRLs long enough to publish them, but not to approve them fully.
Gotcha.
So a couple of these, like I said, like I understand, like the Sith Stalker Starkiller or the KOTOR 2 Nihilus, like those one and the two Royal Guards. It's like there's not a lot of real world reference for them, but something like Bosk is just that's bizarre to me that they haven't nailed down that CRL yet.
So I wonder with that in mind, like you've got these characters that haven't been approved yet for a variety of reasons, but I wonder where characters like Grief Karga, where would his costumes fit? Would they be Rebel Legion? Would they be 501st? Because 501st does have that whole bounty hunter detachment.
Mm-hmm. I think I think season 1 Grief would be a 501st costume, but seasons 2 and 3, I think those would fall solely under Rebel Legion.
Okay.
And again, like these, you're playing with fire when you when you start talking about like, oh, is this Rebel Legion? Is this 501st? Is this Mando Mercs? Because a lot of it's just up to interpretation. I could say like, well, Return of the Jedi, Luke should be a 501st costume because he turned evil there for a minute when he's wailing on Darth Vader. He cuts his hands off. I mean,
well, I think
you could say in that instant, he was a bad guy.
Yeah, but I guess for that the line would be he might have been doing a bad thing, but was he aligning himself, with the goals of the Empire? I think he was just a pissed off rebel at that point.
Right. Well, in that same vein, why do we have you've got all 3 versions of Din Djarin. You've got the pre-Beskar, you've got Beskar, and then especially the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, he wasn't a bad guy. he wasn't doing. He was hunting down crime lords. So I mean, you could make the case that he was a good guy in that instant. I
Yeah,
say the only one that makes sense to me to be a 501st costume is the Pinto Din, the pre-Beskar, because
yeah,
he was working for the Empire.
yeah. He was yeah. Well, he was paid by them to hunt Grogu.
So
And after he got his Beskar armor, that's when he said, "Yeah, not so much." And that's when he did,
yeah,
got the whistling birds, all that stuff.
like I said, it's playing with fire when you start, trying to see, okay, is this Rebel Legion? Should this be 501st? Should this be Rebel Legion? And it all started with the clones. Everyone in the 501st wanted to do the clones, but they weren't bad guys. But they were technically bad guys at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So why do we have all the Phase 1 clones in the CRLs? So I just think that's funny.
Yeah. Oh, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, one of my favorite pastimes is going through all the 501st CRLs and just looking to see, like, oh, can we do this? Could we do that?
Now, does the 501st have any like silly detachments or silly brigades?
Come on, you know that we've got silly detachments.
I just want to hear you talk about them.
The denizen detachment is it, or excuse me, the denizen designation is the.
I think well, actually, let me put a little bit more context to this. So in the Mercs, they have groups where if your costume is orange, like you're in the road cone group, they so they have one for folks who wear a jetpack, because not every custom Mandalorian wears a jetpack, and so they've got little maybe it's not groups, maybe it's like inner clubs or
Mhm.
so they may not necessarily be formal, like you have to get this, your armor has to have these many pieces, but you wear orange, you're in the road cone group, and if you wear a kilt, you're in the whatever.
I mean, I would still argue to say that the denizen designation, it's still funny because you've got costumes like the Rancor Keeper. You've got what's his name?
Figuring Dan is in the Denizens, isn't he?
Technically, he's just a Biff musician.
Oh, okay.
So Figuring Dan did not get his own CRL. But then you've got like Wooher, the cantina, the bartender at the cantina. He is part of the underworld detachment under the denizen designation, which in the same vein you have costumes like Hondo are in the exact same designation and detachment.
Oh, that's funny. So I
So
wonder if that would mean, would Akmina be in that detachment then? Akmina was the barkeeper in the holiday special.
he does not have an approved costume.
No, it's the
Or she, sorry.
Yeah, B Arthur, I think, played her in the 1978 holiday special.
I have not seen the holiday special since 2010.
All right.
It's been a while, and I don't even remember most of it. I remember Leia singing. That's about it.
Yeah, that was the very, very end.
Cantina Godel? What is this? Oh, okay. Sorry, now I'm distracted looking at the CRL.
Yeah, you just gone down the rabbit hole. So with that in mind, you're getting ready to zip off into this other world. Where can folks find you for your next episode of the Beskar Bucket?
The Beskar Bucket is currently on hiatus due to the writer's strike. However, the Beskar Bucket will be back at some point. I'm probably going to record an episode pertaining to the writer's strike here probably in the next couple days if I don't do it tonight while it's all fresh on my mind. But yeah, I've got a lot that I want to do, but it's one of those things where it's like, even though I'm not in the Writers Guild, I'm not in SAG, it's important that we stand together as, as consumers, and support these people, because you wouldn't want anyone coming into your job and being like, well, yeah, you don't deserve to get paid because a computer can do your job twice as good. So you don't want to take food out of other people's mouth. So that's my whole thing. Where it's like, because like right now it's a weird balance of, there's a lot to talk about, but there's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
So it, while yeah, there's not a lot for me to talk about, I can make things up and talk about on my show, but I don't want to be that guy.
yeah,
Where like I'll come on here and I'll chat all the live long day, but at the same time still walking that fine line of what to talk about, what not to talk about, so as to not be an infraction on the strike itself. But I think for me personally, I find it to be more beneficial just to take a break. Don't don't fan the flames, but I'll be back at some point before I start rambling on about the writer's strike.
nice. I can appreciate that. And speaking of rambling, the rambling Star Wars fan has hit a couple hiccups and roadblocks and stuff. I have several episodes partially prepared, and I have not spent the time putting my voice on record and putting anything out there for the world to hear. The forces behind Star Wars are getting ready to record an episode this week. It'll be Anthony, Dexter, Steven, our newest member Andrew, and myself. We're going to put together an episode. It's going to be a pitch session where we're going to come together as a group and throw our ideas into the ring of, if we had the opportunity to make something Star Warsy related, what would it be? So our little elevator speeches we're gonna share. So we're gonna record that this week. I'm not sure when it'll be posted, but we're gonna be recording that. And hopefully, we'll next Wednesday all three of us will be here. We definitely missed Mike, and we apologize for those folks who had expected us on earlier. Uh, we gabbed and gabbed and gabbed and didn't turn on the button. So we
We
learned
lacked
our lessons.
we lacked our proper leadership.
Yes. The engineer should not pilot the Falcon.
No, they're definitely not. I don't. I think that, what does that make me? Just the stowaway?
No, you're the co-pilot, but you shouldn't pilot on your own either.
Fair. I'll accept that.
You haven't
So
you haven't logged enough training hours in the simulator. You know where the buttons are, but you haven't met all the criteria yet.
right, I know where the buttons are. I just don't know which ones to push. So, but I think, hey, even without Mike, I think we made a solid 48-minute episode,
Sir, yes, sir, that is for sure.
but not quite as good as if he would have been here.
Well, we probably would have fit in some sort of um, car repair talk. That would have pushed us up to that 60-minute mark.
Right.
So, well, thanks for
Well,
another great episode, John. I really appreciate it.
absolutely. Can't wait to see you guys next week.
Have fun, everyone.